Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got Ambassador Deepak sitting right next to me, and he's talking about what Bharat is doing. We'll get to that in just a bit, ladies and gentlemen. The diplomatic row between New Delhi and Ottawa has reached a new high on Monday as Canada leveled serious charges against the Indian High Commissioner there, Sanjay Kumar Vermaji, terming him as a person of interest in an investigation without naming the case. Responding to the claims, the Ministry of External Affairs released a scathing statement saying that Canada did not share a shred of evidence on Bharat's involvement in Nijjar's killing, despite repeated requests, and accused Trudeau of indulging in vote bank politics and not doing enough to tackle separatist elements on Canadian soil. Now, exclusive inputs by our senior affairs editor Manoj Kumar Gupta shows why a desperate Justin Trudeau is actually keen on Sikh support to save himself in Parliament next year. Trudeau has decided to give primacy to his domestic constituency rather than diplomatic relations. Top intelligence sources have told CNN News 18, explaining the Canadian Prime Minister's stand amid heightened tensions between Bharat and Canada over the killing of this Khalistani extremist wanted terrorist, designated terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He is just a permanent resident in Canada, not even a Canadian citizen, ladies and gentlemen. The intel sources said Trudeau needs NDP leader Jagmeet Singh's support for his survival and wants to stay in power to run a minority government. Jagmeet Singh is a Khalistani supporter because of his vote bank. He has told Trudeau clearly that to gain support from Sikhs, he needs to revive the Khalistani issue. Now, Jagmeet is also part of this entire WSO, World Sikh Organization, whose founder was very, very close, in fact, almost the right-hand man of Bhindranwale. So that's how, and they all fled Bharat and they made Canada their haven. Now in the past, they have been allowed in and they continue to fester there along with and working with gangsters, criminal elements, drug lords, etc., etc. Now, however, Trudeau is losing his grip over mainstream voters of Canada, and even the moderate voters don't seem to be with him now anymore. His approval ratings are at an all-time low, ladies and gentlemen. Sources have further added case separatists are basically projecting Khalistan, Operation Blue Star and Bhindranwale to this current generation born after 1984. So they're trying to rewrite this entire act of revisionism of Sikh history starting from 1984 and 1990 onwards. So the Khalistanis, meanwhile, have raised a large terror force within Canada, a very active one at that, mercenaries who are carrying out killings, bomb blasts and non-state activities. A lot of it is also connected to what's happening in Bharat, and it's happening via gangsters. So while an RCMP names Lawrence Bishnoi or a Bishnoi, they forget that a Goldie Brar is sitting on Canadian soil with letter rogatories and extradition requests from Bharat, multiple ones at that, and they've not done anything about it. We'll get to that. Meanwhile, Bharat has issued a dossier to Canada on Khalistani groups, saying Justin Trudeau's government is giving shelter to banned terror outfits. The RCMP, on a specific question when it was asked of them that is India behind Sikhs in Canada, the Sikh community, they said no, just the Khalistani elements who are in Canada. So they have openly admitted that there are K elements, secessionist elements and wanted elements who are operating out of Canadian soil. Meanwhile, according to more exclusive inputs by Security Affairs editor Manoj Kumar Gupta, top intel sources have told CNN News 18 that Bharat has said that Canada is a hub of gangsters and Pakistan-based Khalistani groups, and that a number of deputation requests are currently pending with the Canadian authorities. The statistic reveals nearly 26 extradition requests and letter rogatories have been sent since about 2014 onwards. But there has been no response. India has actually expressed concerns over recent events and developments involving pro-Khalistani groups in Canada. A tableau celebrating the assassination of former Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi by her Sikh bodyguards went around the city of Brampton in Canada on the 4th of June 2023. This parade was organized by Khalistani groups on the 39th anniversary of Operation Blue Star. A strong disapproval had come from the government of India over this, and they called it vote bank politics. Sources also said that wanted accused sitting in Canada have been masterminding killings and terror activities over in Punjab here in Bharat and other parts of our country. They have been executing these tasks with the help of gangsters sitting in jails of Delhi and Punjab. Sources have further added that several requests from the National Investigation Agency for the extradition and deportation of terror operatives and pro-Khalistani elements have been pending with the Canadian government, but they are not ready to cooperate in any investigation. The main requests are for the BKI, Babar Khalsa International, member Lakhbir Singh Sandhu or Landa, originally from Taran Taran in Punjab, for whom the agency has announced a reward of 15 lakh rupees. Deepak, a close associate of Landa, was actually arrested for allegedly carrying out the RPG attack at the Punjab Police Intelligence Headquarters in Mohali in May 2022. Deepak was involved in multiple cases of terrorist and criminal offences, including killings. Landa's aide Hardeep Singh Gill, alias Ashdallah, is also based in Canada and is linked to the Khalistani Tiger Force or KTF. Another aide, Hardeep Nijjar, designated terrorist having connections with the band Sikhs for Justice outfit, was gunned down by two assailants in Surrey on June 18th. Dalla was designated an individual terrorist by the Ministry of Home Affairs, that is Ash Dalla, on the 9th of January 2023. In February, the NIA arrested 6 persons related to terrorist, gangster, drug smuggler nexus cases. Now, including Dalla's associate, Lucky Khokar, a resident of Batinda in Punjab. Now, he had provided arms and ammunition to Dalla's men in Punjab. The weapons were used to kill one Paramjit Singh Jagrao in January. Another accused wanted by the agency is Canada-based Satwinderjit Singh alias Goldie Brar, who is accused in the killing of Pradeep Kumar, a Dera Sacha Sauda follower in Faridkot in November 22. He also works for Landa. All of these people are operating on Canadian soil. The RCMP allegedly is aware of their movements and sometimes are also providing them advance warning that there could be a hit on you or some gangster or some threat to your life. They're giving them protection too. But they have not done anything on these extradition requests. Bharat has said that Canada should take threat of Khalistani extremism seriously, take concrete steps to address it. Multiple attacks have happened on Indian temples, but not once has the Trudeau government shown its commitment towards Hindus. Intel sources have also further added that Khalistani presence in Canada is a complex issue with concerns about radicalization, terrorism and diplomatic tensions between both Bharat and Canada only escalating. Meanwhile, the Indian High Commissioner Sanjay Kumar Verma has told the Globe and Mail that India has not received any credible evidence from Canada or its allies to support the allegations on Indian agents and their involvement in the June killing of Nijjar. They pressed on whether Canada had sought extradition of any suspects in the killing. The envoy stressed that New Delhi has so far made 26 extradition requests to Ottawa over the past 5 to 6 years, yet none have been processed. Since 2003, this number is 26 extradition requests to Canada on criminals from India who have taken refuge in the North American country. This includes the extradition request for Hardeep Singh Nijjar in 2022. From 2002 to 2016, Bharat received 60 extradited fugitives as per Lok Sabha answer by the MEA on the 11th of May 2016. Of these, Canada has sent back only 4 people. Baldev Singh, charged with murder, returned in 2004. Bachan Singh Sogi, charged with criminal breach of trust, returned in 2006. Harpal Singh Chima, charged with Tada, returned in 2006. Milkait Singh Mitta, charged with murder, returned in 2007. Now, amid rising diplomatic tensions between both the nations following the killing of Hardeep Nijjar, Jagmeet Singh, leader of Canada's NDP and former ally of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, spewed venom against Bharat and also the RSS. Jagmeet Singh's statement said, "We are calling on the government of Canada yet again to put diplomatic sanctions against Bharat in place, ban the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh network in Canada." So, is he the one who's going to call the shots? I guess listening patiently to the entire backgrounder and explainer, we had to put it out there, ladies and gentlemen. We'll also put out a flowchart of who these leaders are, who in Canadian polity, all of them connected to Khalistanis, all of them connected to wanted entities in Bharat. That's the flowchart, and we'll go full frame in that. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, senior fellow IPCS with us. Ambassador Deepak Vora is sitting right next with me. Ramneek Singh Maan, activist with us, and Noah Weisbord, associate professor at McGill University and author. Daniel Boardman, journalist, should also be joining us in just a bit. My namaste to everybody. Ambassador Deepak Vora, your first thoughts before I go across outside to our other panelists.
May I shake your hand?
Yes, surely, sir. Namaste, sir. Thank you.
What a pleasure to be with you, sir, and on your amazing channel. You are the best, and your channel, of course, is absolutely tops. Let me put it across to you very bluntly. I was 38 years in the Ministry of External Affairs, ambassador in 6 countries, served in 7 others, and I've been 51 years in diplomacy and counting. Now, this character, Justin Trudeau, why has he done what he has? You have referred to a character called Jagmeet Singh, who used to be a partner to this chap, but then withdrew, I think last month, his support from the government, saying, "I've torn up the agreement." Sir, Justin Trudeau, always on a drug-induced high, he lacks 2 basic requirements of a diplomat or of a citizen, of a human being. First is self-esteem, second is self-confidence. Self-esteem. What did Jagmeet say? The man is a hypocrite and a crook. And Justin Trudeau, thank you for complimenting me. and he stays on and he keeps begging this guy to support him. Self-confidence. When I was posted in the United States in the mid-80s, so we've been through that period. Every time I had a problem with my neighbor, Pakistan, I used to go complaining to the Americans, look what this guy's doing, look what this, very bad, very bad, very bad. We don't do it anymore. And this character, the first thing he does last year, we will talk to our allies and friends and the 5 blind men of Englistan and we'll complain about you. So much so, sir, that I was told in New York that his foreign minister, another stupid lady, she even went around the UN building catching hold of every janitor and waiter saying, I want to brief you about what India is doing. What is going on? Have you guys no self-respect? Have you lost it? What are you trying to do? Let me conclude by saying, building a relationship between two countries takes a lifetime. Destroying it takes less than a year. Mr. Trudeau, you have proved it. And please, if you understand English, I am going to talk to my lawyer by naming Sanjay, who was my successor in Sudan where I was ambassador, by naming Sanjay Verma and 6 others, you have endangered their lives. I am going to ask an Indian court to issue a summons to you for endangering the lives of Indian diplomats. Protect yourself if you can.
Well, will he be able to protect himself from the Canadian voters in a few months from now down the line? We'll have to wait and watch, because what Mr. Trudeau has done is he's challenged a democracy while being a democracy. The other thing is, what stands out is, if Mr. Sanjay Kumar Verma was so involved, what is Gurpatwant Pannu doing? He is actually threatening a sitting MP in the Canadian Parliament. And there's been no action that's been taken against Gurpatwant Pannu. He's a designated terrorist, and this is a nation that has stood at the UN and across the board saying that there is no good terrorists, bad terrorists. Any nation that's a wanted person, we should not allow such people. Sri Lanka has had a problem in the past where they've said that LTTE members have been seen with them. There are other nations who have turned around and said that Boko Haram and Burkina and some of the other wanted entities in Africa nations, they have found their way there. South Asian nations have had issues when militant outfits and terrorist outfits, their people have been found on Canadian soil. And whatever is happening with Bharat is out there for everyone to see. Daniel Boardman is also with us. Noah, your thoughts first up. How would you read this current situation? Would you have expected the Trudeau government to behave thus? Because there's a variance in what the RCMP says, what Justin Trudeau says, and what the Foreign Minister of Canada says. Clear variance in the 3 pressers also.
Well, there's contradictory things that are being said. One of them is that all these terrorists are on Canadian soil and there's no extradition being done by the Canadian government. And at the same time, that India and Indian officials have no involvement at all in these targeted killings that are taking place, like Nijjar Singh, for example. So I'm wondering, what is the ambassador trying to say? Is that these people deserve to be killed extrajudicially with no process, or that Canada should be extraditing them? What are all these personal attacks on the Prime Minister and various Canadian officials? Where do they get us in figuring out whether there was involvement of Canadian officials in the killing of these Canadian citizens on Canadian soil? I agree that if there are credible allegations of terror being prepared and conducted on Canadian soil, then there should be prosecution by Canada or extradition to India. I agree with that. But this is not what the ambassador was talking about at all.
But Noah, please, have you seen the visuals? I'll show you these pictures of Hardeep Nijjar using an AK-47, an automatic rifle on Canadian soil. Those pictures are in the hills of Canada, which is again by law, violation of Canadian law. You're not allowed to use those rifles. There are pictures of this, and these are pictures in 2019, 2020. But was Nijjar arrested, Noah? No. The RCMP yesterday mentioned the Bishnoi. I'll come to you. The RCMP mentioned the Bishnoi gang yesterday. The head of the Bishnoi gang, or his partner, Goldie Brar, is currently living in Canada. He's operating out of Canada. Has the RCMP arrested him? There is a letter rogatory and an extradition request against Goldie Brar, who's wanted for multiple murders and criminal activities here in India. So I'm just saying 2 recent examples where the Canadian authorities have not acted.
I agree with you that if there are credible allegations, which there may be, of criminal activity against Indian or Canadian nationals, then those people that you listed should be arrested and tried in Canada if they're Canadians, or extradited to India if they're Indians. That's where we agree. But where we don't agree, I think, is that people should be killed extrajudicially in Canada on Canadian soil by foreign powers if they're not extradited? How would Indians like it if in New Delhi, Canada orchestrated a targeted killing of an Indian national in New Delhi?
But Noah, where is the proof? Well, one, where is the proof? Secondly, did Canada take the same position with the Chinese MSS where there was credible proof? But the fact is, where is the proof? You've not been able to even arrest the people who were involved. The RCMP took 9 months to come back with even names, and they've not been able to prove any connection with the Indian authorities. It's all hearsay. What they presented was Google search articles. Noah.
The evidence comes from, will you let me tell you where the proof is?
Yeah.
The evidence comes from the United States, where there's an FBI sting operation where there was named officials that were given. So some of the evidence is from that, and some of them is from wiretaps directly with Indian officials. You can look at the indictments. The indictments are available for you to see.
Are you allowed to wiretap a diplomat? Are you allowed to wiretap and listen into the diplomat, or is that not a brazen is that not a breach of the Vienna Convention?
That's not a diplomat. That's not a diplomat.
No, any Indian official, are you allowed to do that? Are you allowed to wiretap somebody as per the Vienna Convention, somebody who is there? The other thing, what does Michael Rubin have to say? He is a senior fellow at American Enterprise Institute, director of policy analysis at Middle East Forum. He says, this is one of the problems. First of all, one of the frustrations with Justin Trudeau is that when he got himself in a corner, he tried to expose American intelligence. Now, when as a former consumer of American intelligence, Justin Trudeau's accusations didn't make sense, when the Americans know something ahead of time, we will still forewarn the government of an impending assassination, not just with our friends. We have done it with Iranians more than 2 decades ago. He's written a detailed piece on First Post where they say that the Americans themselves are upset with the way Justin Trudeau tried to reel them in and also drag them into this whole thing. There is nothing which is credible in a court of law that's been proper. This is all hearsay. And when they said proof, they said Google searched articles and documents. So they quoted WAPO and NYT. That's what happened. Ambassador, and before I bring in Ramneek Mann and Abhijit Ayar Mitra, and Daniel Boardman is also there. But
with all due respect to the professor, I never said that we have indulged in extrajudicial killings. But by accusing my colleagues of doing it, you are exposing them to danger. That is unacceptable. We don't do this, sir. We are a very mature democracy. We are children of a person you probably heard his name, Chanakya. We understand diplomacy much better than the rest of the world put together. Chanakya, sir, give me 1 more minute,
yes,
had said 3 things how a leader should take a decision. The first is evidence. Yes, I can see the fire. The second is perception. I can't see it, but people are telling me. The third is inference. I can see some smoke and people running around, so there might be a fire. You don't take decisions based on the third, on inference. I'm afraid, sir, with due respect, the Prime Minister of Canada has done just that. Without a shred of evidence, without a shred of perception, he has gone for inference.
The other aspect that stands out, Ramneek Mann and Daniel Boardman, as I bring you in along with Abhijit Ayar Mitra, thank you for your patience. Daniel Boardman, this man, Hardeep Nijjar, was rejected Canadian entry, passage into Canada. He tried to forge his identity and come in. And he was not even a full-term citizen. He was a permanent resident, if I'm given to understand. Why would a Canadian government want to back a man who's got a checkered past, and he's a wanted man? He's actually fleeing another country and coming into Canada. Daniel.
Yeah, that's one of the big questions to be asked here that we're not really addressing in Canada. So I'm going to correct you there. He tried to sneak into the country twice and failed.
Yes.
He got in on the 3rd time. Somehow, we don't know. The working theory is the same Liberal MP who wrote the letter to bring in the most notorious gangster in Pakistan also brought in Nijjar to the country. That would make the most sense. That's sort of the working theory of most people in the know. So, right, there's 2 theories here, right? There's, did India kill him and we're innocent and there's no proof? We weren't involved in this. These were just gangsters. Some of them were on student visas. Trudeau made the student visa program the most porous border. So, hey, that's what you did. Or, is India trying to make the argument that, hey, this was an active terrorist leader running a terrorist training camp. He was advocating for terrorist attacks in India. We tried to extradite him from Canada. Canada wouldn't do it. And he was a clear and present threat to the Indian people, you can argue, because he's running a terrorist training camp. He's advocating people to do suicide bombings. And you can argue that then, okay, so you're right, there's 2 potential arguments here. Is that we didn't have anything to do with this. This was just normal Khalistani gang behavior. Khalistani gang leaders kill each other all the time in Canada. That's one thing. Or Well, we did need to take him out because he was running a terrorist training camp on Canadian soil, and we tried to extradite him, but Canada was protecting him because, you could say domestic vote bank politics. They want to really, they're fighting the NDP for the Khalistani vote, and they really, so they needed Hardeep Singh Nijjar to do that or some way. Either way you slice it, you can understand the Indian argument. I think what my colleague's trying to say is you got to kind of pick one if you're India, right? Pick one and go with it here. Either we had nothing to do with this, this is just Khalistani gang violence. They knocked each other off. These guys are here on student visa programs. Why are you letting in 27-year-old gangsters as students to study at fake universities? That's your fault. That's one thing. Or he was an active terrorist leader running a terrorist training camp on Canadian soil. We tried to extradite him, we couldn't, and therefore we had to do this to protect the lives of Indian citizens, both in Canada and in India. We had to take out this terrorist leader. So you can understand either one, but I think what colleagues say is you got to pick one argument and one lane to go down.
But that's been India's official point of view all along, that we have sent you extradition requests. He's a wanted man and he's died on your soil. It's Canada that made the allegation. So what will India say? Listen, present us credible evidence. If there is credible evidence, which is actionable evidence, we will act on it. But our position is that this is internecine gang war, and Hardeep Nijjar has been done in by the ISI because he was becoming a pain for them. That's the position that the Indian authorities have always maintained. We've never said that we interfered in anything or we are active on Canadian soil. This whole allegation aspect of it came from Justin Trudeau and his foreign minister. The RCMP also didn't make this allegation because they had no shred of evidence, anything. That's what Ramnik Maan, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, one after the, yeah. Yes, Ramnik Maan.
Yeah, good evening, fellow panelists. Good evening, Anand. I would want some time to explain, so I hope I'll be accorded enough time.
Go ahead, please.
So first thing first is the Canadian reputation is in tatters, and so is Justin Trudeau's. And as a matter of fact, all thanks to Justin Trudeau, that a proud nation like Canada is losing reputation on the international front. And I'll explain to you very clearly. Number one, when the gentleman here, I believe, some people suffer from the white man syndrome, then so be it. Can you please tell me, or can somebody please tell me, what happened when Karima Baloch was killed by the ISI on the Canadian soil? What happened when the Khalistanis backed ISI actually killed Ripu Daman Singh Malik when he turned pro-India from being a pro-Khalistani? What does Justin Trudeau have to say about the Chinese interference in the Canadian elections, which is public, which is known? What does Chinese police stations or their, quote-unquote cultural centers doing in Canada? They are in Canada, on Canadian soil, threatening Canadian citizens of Chinese origin or Chinese living in Canada. That's how they are operating. And what is he doing about it? Did Justin Trudeau inform the people of Canada that there was a red corner notice against Nijjar in 2016? Did Justin Trudeau inform the citizens of Canada Nijjar was placed under house arrest for illegal activities? What illegal activities was he involved in? Was the people of Canada made aware that Nijjar's property in India were confiscated or being a terrorist? Were people told that he was the leader of a terrorist organization called Khalistan Tiger Force? Was the people of Canada made aware that he entered Canada illegally as Ravi Sharma and later became Hardeep Nijjar, and he was given citizenship in retrospect, not in prospect, in retrospect? Has this ever happened before? Was it not true that his extradition is pending, and there are 30-odd extraditions which are pending? When a designated wanted terrorist of India, एक इनाम याफ्ता मुजरिम terrorist of India, is addressed to as an honorable citizen of Canada by none other than the Canadian Prime Minister on the floor of the Canadian Parliament, I have nothing else to say but this, that Canada is turning itself into the Pakistan of the West. We are dealing with one Pakistan, we can deal with the other as well, but giving shelter to terrorists, giving shelter to gangsters, giving shelter to criminals with history sheeters, and not extraditing these people back to India on repeated requests is something that Canada needs to introspect. As a matter of fact, there is a channel called Sanj TV. Sanj TV, Ripudaman Singh Malik gave an interview just a week before he was assassinated, and he was spilling the beans about one Hardeep Nijjar and another was Muninder Bual. So he was supposed to spill the beans, and he was supposed to tell how these people, how who's funding Khalistan Tiger Force? It's the Pakistan ISI. Who's the asset? Whose asset was Nijjar? It was Pakistan ISI's.
No.
And if I may remind you also, Anand, just a few days before Nijjar was killed, his son is on record that CISI, the Canadian intelligence officers, came to his residence and met him at length and discussed some business with him. What business was it? Can the Canadians please explain? So I believe that before you turn around in your domestic heat, run up to your elections, try and accuse India of interfering in their internal affairs. Please explain the Chinese position. Please explain the Pakistani position.
Not just that. You made a very important point, Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Will Canada take it nicely well if there are secessionist element operating out of India trying to orchestrate the secession or the breakup of Canada? It was under Justin Trudeau's father that the Kanishk bombings were not dealt with. The accused were let off. The courts went easy. It was under him that he fought. He called national emergency when Quebec wanted to separate. Now, if those Quebec separatists were given a safe haven in Bharat and allowed to operate out of here, what would be the response?
I can answer that if you want.
No, I'll come to you after, Abhijit. He's not spoken, and then I'll come to your reaction. Yes.
Look, I honestly don't care because, Canada deals with its separatism issues as they want to. The problem right now is Canada is increasingly beginning to look like Idi Amin's Uganda, at least in terms of their investigative capability. Maybe Trudeau's just a white version of Idi Amin. Just as a direct consequence, I want to put this up. Air India, a flight has just received a threat from a Khalistani handle. It's landed in Iqalit. This is the Air India flight going to Chicago. All right. And a total of 8 Indian flights in the last 48 hours since this blew up have been receiving Khalistani threats. Okay, this is directly on Justin Trudeau. He started this because there is a correlation between when these threats have been coming and Justin Trudeau opening his mouth. Number one. Number two, credible allegations. You see, there is no such thing as a credible allegation. There is credible evidence and there is allegations. Allegations become credible when evidence is given. So any clown who calls an allegation credible really needs to be drummed out of any forum or any whatever. Third, in Canada, let us accept that they have different standards of freedom of speech. There is something called the Brandenburg Principle, which is a specific threat against a specific target. Now, you tell me this is a very, very specific threat against our ambassador in Canada, where his effigy is being shot at with Glocks and then being burnt. The target is specific. The intent is specific. They haven't got it. In Sidhu Moosewala's murder, a member of the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, and this isn't a credible allegation by them, a member of the gang sitting in Canada admits to the fact that he carried out the killing. Self-indictment.
He even spoke with News 18 and claimed responsibility. Goldie Brar.
Right. Now, Goldie Brar. Now, cumulatively, and you add up what Ramik was saying about Ramik and Daniel were saying about the number of times this man Nijjar went on lying on his passport application and the criminal record that was ignored before giving him citizenship, you understand why I'm beginning to think Canada is operating like a third world country. Do you know, in the 5-hour meeting in Singapore with Doval, 90% of the complaints were about Indian diplomats collecting information, which is their job incidentally, and the fact that and you know the link that they found between the Lawrence Bishnoi gang and Indian diplomats? Guess, Anand, just guess. That they were given passports, that they were given municipal clearance certificates and education certificates. Are you kidding me? If the MEA doesn't give passports, what are they meant to do? Fry gulab jamuns and jalebis and give it to people? Or are they meant to cook up poutine and give it to people? You understand why Doval is pissed off. He has wasted 5 hours of his life he's not going to get back on this banality called evidence. Why is it the Americans are able to cough up evidence and follow procedure? They give you an indictment with the transcripts, the names, if you want the recordings and everything as and when required. Why is it the Canadians, even after 1 year, aren't able to do this? I repeat, Canada is rapidly becoming a third world country with zero investigative abilities. And you look at the cumulative effect. How does Nijjar, who violates every single immigration law, which should be a fatal disqualification instantly, get citizenship? Several of his accomplices keep getting citizenship despite lying. Your Kanishka bombing is botched up. Literally everything to do with India and Khalistan is botched up. How is that even possible? How are you not able to give evidence even after 1 year? How are you going on saying possible? Why does Justin Trudeau in his press conference, Anand, keep saying possible links to the Indian government? Either there are links or there are not.
No, not just that. On possible links, do you say that the ambassador of a nation is a person of interest? That's harakiri, diplomatic harakiri, political harakiri, and in any erudite level of governance, you would not do it because you are spoiling relationship for a long time. Noah, your turn. Thank you for your patience. It's just that Canada may have a perception about freedom of speech, but then it should have an equal barometer of where you draw the line. You can't allow a Gurpatwant Pannun to openly threaten a sitting MP of Canada and get away with it. Sitting MP is being threatened. That's kosher. And a wanted man for another nation is found dead, and you are saying that we are willing to sever diplomatic relationship and take it right down to the all-time lowest. It somehow doesn't add up, Noah. Yes, please.
Yeah, so there's some areas of agreement between us and some areas of disagreement.
Yes.
I'll try to be brief.
Yes.
So I'm agreeing with most of you guys, with all of you guys, in that the whole decision about whether to extradite or what to do should be based on evidence that's transparent. So that's where we agree. Another place where we agree is that one country should not be doing targeted killings on another country.
Yeah.
If there are separatists that are Canadian separatists in Canada, in India, who want to commit crimes in Canada, there should be a legal process for getting a hold of them, not a Canadian assassination in New Delhi. The thing we disagree about is the role of the state in getting rid of its enemies. So I do not agree that India should be involved, if they are, in the assassination of Sikh separatists on Canadian soil.
See, that's exactly, Noah, what I'm saying. There is a difference between an allegation and qualifying it with if, and a credible evidence where you know that you are the people who have done it. So far, Canada has not produced credible evidence that it is Bharat that has done it. And if Bharat had done it, I don't think we as a country would have had any qualms about accepting that we have done it, because we would have told Canada, listen, these are the total number of interrogatories, these are the number of extradition requests. This man is trying to orchestrate secessionist activities and terrorism in our country. We have negated him, we have neutralized him. You couldn't do it, we have helped you out. Thank you for your cooperation. We could have said it as a country. We've not done it because we've not done it. We've said, if you believe we are involved, you tell us who are involved and we'll catch them and hand them over to you as per Canadian law. That's the Indian position so far. You agree? Now, has Canada said we have credible proof? No. They have said credible allegation. Noah, your allegation is as credible as my allegation, right? Now, can the Prime Minister of a country say credible allegation? He has to say credible proof, sir. That's the point that we are trying to make. Daniel, you want to say something, and then Ambassador, we'll close with you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, from my perspective, this isn't smart politics to start a fight with India. And I could believe that maybe the Indian government was behind one targeted assassination being Hardeep Singh Nijjar, and you can make the case that, okay, this, and that. It doesn't really make sense, because if you know any diplomats, if you know any bureaucrats, if you know any people in the government, most of them don't have cognitive brain function capable of doing this. I wouldn't trust the Indian High Commissioner to be able to organize a pizza party. That's not just an India thing, that's most countries. Now we are at the point where we are supposed to believe these people are not just in one murder, but they're running an entire gang operation throughout the country with extortion and murder for hire plots, and it's now transnational crime, and it's run with Lawrence Bishnoi, who's in jail, or his lieutenant, who India's trying to extradite from Canada, and they're working with the Indian government, and now it's too much to just believe at face value. Like there was a stretch where I could believe that maybe in this one time, you know, they pounded a bunch of Red Bulls for a couple and really focused and took out Nijjar. Okay, we could talk about that. But now we're at transnational Canadian crime, and we're still at the sort of trust me, guys, I got this phase. And I mean, the fact that it's been over a year and the evidence hasn't leaked from the RCMP, the Liberals have an incredibly friendly press. They control pretty much someone in every major newsroom, right? They have high cooperation within the top echelons of the RCMP, which they seem to be sort of part of the Trudeau administration as well. There is a 99.9999999% chance that if they did have some evidence that people could really understand and seize upon, that it would have been leaked through the press over the last year, through the RCMP to the press. The fact that that hasn't happened, from my view here, Occam's Razor Canada, it's the Liberals have nothing, and this just seems like more pandering to whatever various terrorist organizations they can for no apparent reason other than they just
see. Here's the thing: a top politician in Mumbai has been shot dead by gangsters, and the responsibility has been claimed by one person who's sitting that very gang, the Bishnoi gang. One of the guys is sitting in Sabarmati jail in Bharat. The other one, the leader, is sitting in Canada. Now, how much more a threat is it? The other guy who's involved in more assassinations and killings, Arsh Dalla, is also in Canada right now. So where is the Trudeau government walking the talk in their crackdown? If they are seriously not a haven for gangsters, and if they do not endorse this, that somebody is sitting on a foreign soil and orchestrating killings in another country, then they need to walk the talk and produce these guys. They need to hand them back to Bharat and say, all right, this is what we've done. Now you walk. Now you tell me. And this is credible proof. That's the second part. Both these things have not been done by the Trudeau administration. So what credibility do they have in these allegations? Other than that, they are pandering to those people who are already gone, who are secessionist elements, who are criminals, goons, gangsters. They fled one country because they were involved in criminal and terrorist activity. They have come to your country. Do you think they are going to allow Canada to be safe? Or are they going to turn Canada for the worse? That's a commonsensical thought process that the polity of the nation needs to think about, needs to have. I've got to wind up, but yes, with you, Ambassador.
You had mentioned that Sri Lanka had said they were sheltering all manner of LTTE. Even Bangladesh said that one of the chaps involved in the assassination of a former president is cocking a snook at Bangladesh. They have asked for his extradition, his return. He walks around very freely because they believe in freedom of expression, which means basically freedom to kill. I just conclude by saying, sir, many years down the road, and I've seen this in my career, perhaps 20, 30, 40 years, somebody is going to write a book, How Not to Win Friends and Influence People, and Shri Justin Trudeau will probably be the chief protagonist. With what took several ambassadors, high commissioners, to build a working relationship, this man has destroyed in less than 12 months.
June 2023, it all started, ladies and gentlemen. June 2023. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll turn the spotlight on the election day.